What is going on, everyone? You are listening to The Summit State of Mind, the podcast of dream shakes and step backs and everything Houston Rockets, presented to you by the Apollo Podcast Network. I am your host, your commissioner, Kenny, and of course, with me as always, who's apparently coughing away from the camera, my brother, my tag team partner, the GM, Justin, wearing the rated R. I was going to say Craig Ackerman, but it's not Craig Ackerman. It is
This is Adam Clanton, our boy.
An Adam
from the
Clanton
A-team.
shirt. How am I sleeping on that?
You see this bit like at the beginning of all of his videos that he posts about, the Astros, like suck
Rated
it
R.
LA, suck it New York, all that same stuff. He's a good friend of the podcast, good friend of ours. Love him to death. Want to support
Still
him.
hasn't come on the pod.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. He's really hard to get a hold of. He's a busy man. He loves his wife very much and his children. So, it's a difficult thing. Shout out to Teresa. So you already know, man.
Well, I like your shirt, and I'm trying to dig, and I'm trying to front my shirt. Shouts to Taylor Pate because I'm rocking the Jalen Green shirt. Jalen Green shirt.
I didn't even realize that.
Of course you didn't. It's the way my camera's angled. I don't want to angle it. Well, I guess I can do it. Yeah, there you go. a little something for the video files out there that are going to see our video on YouTube. But look, let's go ahead and get going right away. As you take your sip of wine, we got an awesome guest to bring on to the summit for the first time. And look, I like to say this right now because this dude's an OG. He understands. He knows when we say the summit, he knows the summit for sure. So let me give him his flowers one time on the intro. He's an OG just in terms of being a Rockets fan. He's been in the game for a while through Clutch Fans and other stuff like that. But he recently got on Twitter and he's recently been blowing up, talking about Rockets, talking about Texans, talking about all things Astros, talking about anything and everything, H-Town related. This is Houston born and bred, raised, and now currently at the Sun and rocking Cougars stuff while we're at it too. So he's rocking the Cougars as well. They got their dub, they're 1-0, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But I want to introduce you for the first time here at the Summit, Vator, H-Town. Yo, man, how you doing today? How's everything going?
I'm great, man. I appreciate y'all for having me on. Like, this is it's a dream come true. Y'all are my boys. Like, if y'all don't know, Justin and Ken are like two of the coolest people you ever meet. So like when they invited me on the pod, I was like, I will absolutely be there. Just let me know. So it's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, we appreciate you coming through, man. It means a lot to have you on, man. We met you, maybe like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. I don't remember exactly when we first met. It was the Summer League game.
No, it was the Summer League game.
The Summer League party.
Oh yeah.
Like in person.
Big city.
Yes. Yeah, man. And that was a fun night. That was fun. And we've hung out a few times. It's always a good time when we hang out with you, bro. But we're just really happy to have you here. Yeah, it means a lot to us that you find us to be so kind. We just try to be nice dudes, have fun.
You know what? What I've found so far since I've been on Twitter, because I have been on social media for a while. Like when I was in high school, I did get on Clutch Fans. I did moderate on Real GM.
Yes, Roosh was talking about that.
Yeah. Some people have like gotten on Twitter and they've like hit me up in the DMs and they're like, "Hey, were you on Real GM?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." So that's kind of why I kept the same name just in case. I'm not really a brand, but at the same time, I have been around for a little while, just back when I was in high school. Funny story with that though is that on Real GM, Roosh wasn't Roosh at the time, but Roosh actually moderated with me while we were on Real GM.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that the Roosh Williams that everybody was actually the King Roosh that moderated with me on the Houston Rockets board on Real GM. So that kind of came full circle, like over the past few months, like we kind of back up, and it's been a great time. Everybody on Twitter has been very welcoming. People have been, it's almost been like a family atmosphere. Like I've involved myself in some things that I did not think that would be possible. Like even sitting here with you guys, it's just been a huge blessing.
Man, shout out to everyone. Shout out to our boy Roosh, the Mastodon. For some reason, always wants to challenge us to a basketball game. Love him to death.
Even though he only has one good ankle. Yeah,
I know, man.
I
knew
Roosh was an aspiring rapper.
Yes.
He was in college, I think, and I don't remember, but I do know like dude he was a rapper. Roosh hasn't changed a whole lot over the years. I'll tell you that. Like even when we moderated on Real GM, like Roosh does not take crap from anybody, man.
That's true. That's true, man. I love it. And since we're talking about bringing it back, you already brought it back, but let's go back to the beginning of you as a fan, man. I want to hear your story of what brought you in to be a fan of the Houston Rockets, and not even just that, but Houston sports in general.
Honestly, when I was a kid, the Oilers was probably the first team that I was actually a huge fan of, and they broke my heart. They made me cry. You know, they had that whole situation with the Buffalo Bills where they were like winning 35-3, I think it was, and they ended up
yes.
Yeah, so
dude, my dad still talks about that to this day.
Like if you make me cry, like it's over. We can't we can't come back from that. That relationship. So like you know, I ended up like the Houston Rockets were just like this up and coming team. A little bit before my time, I know they were good. I know the Ralph Sampson and the Hakeem Olajuwon days. I don't remember too much about that stuff, but I do know that they had a very good team that was derailed for, you know, different situations that we don't need to discuss. But like in the 90s, like they just looked like this up and coming team. We had like Vernon Maxwell, and they just pieced it together. I think Carol Dawson was the GM. He just put together like a really gritty team with Kenny Smith and Vernon Maxwell, Hakeem, Otis Thorpe, and then they ended up drafting Robert Horry and Sam Cassell, and that was like the two pieces that kind of put them over the top. Oh, and big shout out to Mario Elie. I can't forget Mario Elie. He's kind of like that glue guy, Tucker kind of guy for like any of the newer fans who aren't familiar, but like that's what Mario Elie was. He was like a PJ Tucker guy. Like a lot of the stuff that he did not necessarily show up in the stat sheet, but it was invaluable for the success of the team. So like that team is like what kind of really, really sealed my fandom and kind of made me like a huge fan of the Houston Rockets. And so watching them fail, like playoffs after playoffs against the Seattle Supersonics, you know, that was kind of heartbreaking. It wasn't like a Buffalo Bill, Houston Oilers situation, but because it was like, man, we're so close. It's just that Seattle ran an illegal defense. I'm gonna die with that. Like I really think that the defense they ran against
the way they ran that defense against the Dream. Yeah,
and I don't know why the referees never like officiated that, you know, correctly in my opinion. But and then they got eliminated that first championship year. They got eliminated. I don't remember by who, but like I remember when they got eliminated, I was like, okay, this is our year. And sure enough, I mean, we ended up going to the finals. We played the New York Knicks. You know, O.J. Simpson kind of interrupted a very good NBA Finals game. He got to escape his white Bronco, but we don't have to talk about that. But yeah, that was what kind of sealed my love for the Houston Rockets. Sam Cassell, big shots. Robert Horry's big shots. Vernon Maxwell's greediness, and of course the brilliance of Hakeem Olajuwon can be understated.
Man, yeah. See, like I love to hear that yours kind of started around that time as well, because I was full transparency here. When the Rockets won our first title, I was 4. Maybe I was 5. I don't remember.
You were 5.
I don't remember. But my very first memories of us winning, of me watching Rockets basketball, were then. I've said this story before. Like I said this to Clutch fan. Shout out to Dave. My first real memory is like watching Sam Cassell on the screen and seeing him. They did a graphic of Kenny Smith and Derek Harper, you know, their stats together, and how Derek Harper just killed Kenny Smith. But they said that Sam Cassell was kind of like a kryptonite Derek Harper, because he didn't take shit from him. And that was when I kind of realized, like, yo, he's a dope dude. I like basketball. I don't know why, but this is exciting to me. We're winning, you know? So anyways, moving on from that, man, like I love to hear that, especially the references to the Sonics, right? Because not many people understand that we had huge struggles with the Sonics. Like in 87, we got eliminated in the second round against the Sonics, and again in 93, and again in 96, man. We wanted to three-peat, and injuries were kind of in the way that year. But to think about that, and to think about those struggles with those teams and how they ran that defense led by George Karl and Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, huge guys for them, it's kind of crazy to remember, because, you know, you think when you compare teams that the Rockets struggled against, it's definitely the Sonics in the 90s, and then the Jazz in the early 2000s, and then, or I guess late 2000s for 2010s, and then the Warriors. You know, we always have the team that the Rockets tend to struggle against, and it's unfortunate, you know what I mean? Especially as Rockets fans, it's not very fun, you know, to have that. And we've been so close. But
wait, I got something to say though. No, I got something to say though in regards to that. Because we talk about, you know, us not liking Seattle, obviously for various reasons from what they did to the Rockets in the 90s, but there's obviously rumors and innuendo about the fact that Seattle might end up coming back at some point. Are we, as a collective question amongst the group right here, like, are we welcoming Seattle back into the NBA, or is it just
not
like,
me,
no?
not me, Ken. I'm a hater.
There's too many bad
I don't
memories
even
on that
pretend.
man's
Like I don't
side.
even pretend. If I'm all Houston everything. And so
Yeah.
if you're a rival of Houston, like you're always going to be a rival. I do not like anything that Utah does. I hate the Dallas Cowboys. And by proxy, I did not like the Dallas Mavericks. The Seattle Supersonics were a thorn in our ass for like so many years. Like, no, if they come back, it's like they never left for me. It's like they never
We'll
left.
see that Seattle. He says we're gonna see that Seattle green.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
We're
Because
gonna
you
see
actually
that
felt
Seattle
those.
green. Yeah.
You actually felt those emotions. You know
No,
what I
I mean
mean?
it. Like, if they come back, and they better not be green, white, and yellow, because then it's just gonna stir up all of these negative hatred emotions that I have.
Vator's
they
giving me some
were a really good
PTSD,
team.
man.
I mean, you can't really hate on a bum team, right?
Yeah.
Like they had Gary Payton, they had the Rain Man, Sean Kemp, they had Nate McMillan, they had Detlef Schrempf. They had a lot of really good players on that team. So it's not like they had a squad, and it was very tough for us to beat them because of the gimmicky defense that George Karl employed. However, I'm holding all of that against them. That's grandfathered in. That's grandfathered into my hatred for them. And so, like, I don't know how many years it's been, how many decades it's been, but like, I'm bringing that right back to whatever this new team's name is. And if it's the Sonics again, expect some slander on the timeline on Twitter. That's all I'm saying.
I love to hear it. It's the same as like how the Seattle hatred carried on to Oklahoma City. Like, like Oklahoma City, man,
Right.
They get no love from us. You know what I mean? They gifted us Harden and then
I made a post the other day about Josh Giddey and
yeah. I remember that post.
Forgot about
Giddey's
that.
a good player.
Yeah.
It's just for me, honestly, it's just friendly trash talk, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
Exactly.
If you have a friend and they're like a fan of the Cowboys, or what I'm saying, these teams, because these are people that we come into contact with the most because we live in Houston, right? A fan of the Cowboys, or a fan of LSU, or whatever it may be. Like, you talk trash to your friend. That's just how it is. Like, I don't mean
Absolutely.
Like,
it's nothing personal.
It's nothing malicious. It's not personal. It's business at the end of the day.
There you go, man. And I love that you brought up Josh Giddey, because we got a rookie of our own down here in Houston, man. And everyone's been seeing our boy Jalen Green has been putting in work. And he hasn't just been putting in work alone. He's been putting in work with Rockets Twitter favorite person that is not a Houston Rocket, Paolo Banchero.
Justin's favorite player, Paolo Banchero, by the way.
I like Paolo Banchero. I mean, I'm gonna be transparent, but how do you feel in terms of what you've seen on these clips for Jalen and the possible steps that he could make forward in the season?
Okay, I'm going to get to Jalen. First of all, I'd like to say that I also saw Josh Christopher working out, and Josh Christopher is the best Josh from the 2021 NBA draft, by the way.
There you go. See, my man's staying on brand. You got to stay on brand. There you go.
No disrespect to Josh Giddey, but we got the best Josh out of that draft. And then as far as Jalen, man, like, I'm impressed with Jalen. I've always been impressed with Jalen, even when he was struggling last year. I know I was on Clutch Fans a lot at the time, and there was a little subset of posters who would like say really negative things about Jalen Green, and I'm like, come on, man. Like, dude is 19 years old. He has this freakish athleticism that you have not seen very often from any player, let alone like a shooting guard. And so a 6'6", 6'5" dude, right? And I'm like, you got to give it patience. You got to at least give him an opportunity to acclimate himself to the league. And then we saw like it paid dividends at the end of the year. He was amazing. Like, he honestly, like, if you really look at his numbers offensively, those were borderline all-star caliber numbers that he put up to end the year, as far as points, shooting percentages, true shooting percentage. Like, everything that he did I was super impressed. So, like, to see him like working on his game this summer, his body looks a little bit different to me. I know people were saying that he didn't look like he gained a lot of weight, but something looks different to me about the way he looks physically. I can't put my finger on it. I know he probably didn't gain 10 pounds like a lot of people wanted him to, but I do know the fact that Stephen Silas said that he's a lot stronger than he was last year, and that you were going to get a lot more deep 3-pointers from him. And like Brad put up a stat, I think, a few days ago. Like, he was actually really good at deep 3-pointers last year. Like, his deep 3-point
I saw that.
His deep 3-point percentage was actually better than Trae Young. And, we all look at Trae Young as like a dude that shoots from the logo, like with this high efficiency. And Jalen Green, rookie as a 19-year-old for most of the year, he turned 20 at some point. But like Jalen Green's deep 3 percentage was actually better than Trae Young's. And to think that he's going to improve on that, like going into this season, like and looking at like the workouts that he's putting in with Paulo and who else was he working out with? He was doing some other stuff like with
I don't remember.
What's the dude from Scotty? Was it Scotty Barnes?
Oh, Scotty Barnes.
yeah,
Him and Scotty Barnes.
Yeah. Like, and we've heard a lot about Jalen Green's work ethic and his ability to like go in the gym and actually lock himself in the gym and just be focused and locked in on improving his game. And I know there was some chatter earlier in the offseason about like, why aren't we seeing any videos? But I think Jalen Green is going to come back and he's going to really he's going to put on a show, guys. Like, I really 100% believe like, we're talking about 20 points. I think that's bare minimum. That's bare minimum.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah,
bare minimum. Like, there's no way that he doesn't average at least 20 points per game this year. I'm thinking maybe it's honestly probably going to depend on how many shots he gets, like, within the offense, because you don't want to, like, force so much onto him so soon, so early. But, I mean, whatever Silas puts on him, he's proven that he can handle it. Because, like, one of the things that you worry about with a guy is like if you give them more usage, will their efficiency go down? That did not happen with Jalen Green last year. The more touches he got, the more usage he got, the more efficient he got, which is absolutely, that's elite.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think also in regards to like Jalen Green, since he's going into a year 2 now, he has to kind of start thinking like, if we talk about last year, he obviously was slumping to start because he was a rookie. Now he knows the speed of the game. The game obviously towards the end of the season slowed down in his mind. And if the game slows down in your mind, you're pretty much Pickens. It's pretty much easy for you at that point. A lot of the stars, the greats have that ability to tap into that next level to slow the game down when it matters. And we obviously saw that from Jalen. So my goal for him this season would be to hit the ground running. Silas implementing this offense now, it's more to his liking, because I'm not saying it's because of this, but obviously a big reason behind this is Christian Wood is not technically on the team anymore. A lot of the offense was meant to be run towards him because he was at the time the best player, established player that was on the Rockets. So obviously they were going to cater a lot of the offense towards him. Now he can really run a true Steven Silas motion type offense, like what he ran with like Luka and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what Jalen's going to do there. But I really believe like but I really want to see him hit the ground running the start of the season, because he now knows the speed of the game. He understands who he's facing against. He played LeBron. He's played the greats. He's played Steph Curry already. He's played them. He's got to touch and feel, like what Kobe said, in The Last Dance, he got to touch and feel Mike. So he got to understand that. So Jalen Green got to touch and feel these greats now. So now on top of that, he can kind of, I was like, someone better say it.
This guy.
I was like, someone better say it. I sound like a damn Clint Capella press conference over here.
Oh my God.
God dang, I lost my no, but like, yeah, I just think like Jalen really needs to hit the ground running in year 2. Jabari, I think, in my opinion, the rookie, the number 3 overall pick, will have more reason for cushion to get to a slow start. But I think Jalen at this point in year 2 should really hit the ground running. And like I said, fully agree with you there. I fully believe he's going to average at least 20, maybe as much as 25, 26 on a high end. I'm hoping for it, but I really believe that he'll hit the ground running at the start of the season for sure.
No, I agree with that.
His confidence, I think his confidence was probably one of the biggest things that we don't talk about, right? And it's kind of like we just assume that he was going to come in and average 20 points like off the rip, right? But like, you got to keep in mind, like, Kobe Bryant didn't come in averaging 20 points off the rip. Michael Jordan did. However, Michael Jordan spent 2 years in college. Michael Jordan has this maniacal like. Michael
Drive.
Jordan's just different, right?
Mhm.
Jalen Green also has some of those qualities, but like he went through a natural progression last year that you would want to see from a player like Jalen Green. He came in super confident. He struggled. He bounced back from it. Like a lot of guys fold under that kind of circumstance where they aren't experiencing a lot of success.
Mhm.
And you can see that like he took that and he turned it around. Like he stayed in the gym. There was that one game like I don't remember what game it was, but he had a horrible game. He was in that really bad slump kind of mid-season, and everybody was like, "Man, we should have drafted Mobley and all of that was kind of going on."
Yep.
And he stayed after, and he was in the Toyota Center, and he was getting up shots, and he was just like, "You know what? I have to trust my work," and it ended up paying off. And at the end of the year, what did he say? "I'm a bucket." And nobody can dispute that. Nobody can dispute that's indisputable.
It's true.
Dude is a bucket.
It's true.
Absolutely.
It's true.
He averaged, dude, he was slumping and he averaged 14 to 15 points a game on a slump in his rookie year. I'm like, bro, like I know y'all expecting him to be a bucket right out the gate, but 14 to 15 points at his worst on his rookie year, not that bad. Not that
No,
bad.
it's true. It shows a testament not just to his work ethic, but also his character. Like Vator said, to expand on that, like in terms of players that will fold under that type of pressure, it shows a lot about Jalen and how his toughness is. You know what I mean? He is not afraid of facing adversity, because there are a lot of players that come up into the league that have yet to hit any sort of adversity. You know what I mean? They've been winning, and they've been scoring, or whatever their strength is, whatever. But what I'm saying is that for Jalen, for someone who's achieved so much success from high school and into the G League and then now in the NBA, for him to struggle the way he did and the way to recover is just a testament to who he is, not just as a player, but as a person. And with what Kenny stated, in terms of him needing to have a quick start to the year, I agree. Not just because of the fact that he is Jalen Green and we have expectations for him, but the first 13 of the season are away from home. And who are they going to look to? They're going to look to the bucket getters. Jalen is number one, and of course KPJ is number two. But Jalen Green will be dependent on to lead the way. And in order for us to gain some form of momentum moving forward after those 13 games, we're going to need Jalen to have a pretty decent to good start to the year. We can't have him slumping out the gate. I'm not going to say it's not a good look. And I'm not saying he won't recover, because he definitely will, but it's going to be a good way to showcase his leadership as well as the number one guy in year two. So, like there's so many things to look forward to in terms to Jalen Green, but let's just not move. Let's move on from that. Let's go talk about the rest of the offseason. Are there any compelling stories that truly intrigue you in terms of the rest of the team? Everyone obviously knows, if you're on Rockets Twitter, Kevin Porter Jr., complete, I don't know how to say it. He's like probably the most outspoken player on Rockets Twitter. And he's so divisive in terms of opinions. I have friends that cannot stand him. I have friends that absolutely love his game. There is your favorite Josh Christopher, who's coming out the gate, who's working really hard, had some pretty good exchanges on Twitter yesterday, which is really dope. Shows a lot about who he is. Alperen Şengün playing in Turkey, you know what I mean? And that fight in Georgia, that is a little frightening for a guy. But and then Jabari Smith getting to Houston. Are there anything in your mind that you might feel is the most important subject to you?
The fact, how we were talking a little bit earlier. Oh, that looks like some good wine, Justin. After we're done, you gotta tell me what that is, so I can go pick some of that up.
There you go.
But,
I got you.
Red wine is my favorite. Anyway, so I don't know, the whole Paulo thing, like you were saying about Jabari, and I'm gonna tie this back in, just bear with me. The fact that we did not end up getting Paulo, which we thought we were gonna get just because that's kind of what the media had hyped it up to be, I think that is going to put a lot more focus and responsibility on the backs of Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. to be what we think they can be. Because Paulo is more of a ball dominant player as far as the fact that he needs the ball. in order to like not just create for himself. I'm not saying Paulo is a selfish player, but Paulo is a guy who is going to operate best with the ball in his hands because he's a jumbo playmaker. He can score for himself. He can set up opportunities for other guys to score. Taking him out of the equation and putting Jabari Smith Jr. in his place actually puts a lot more focus on Jalen Green being who we expect him to be. Like, I think this puts the ball back in Jalen Green's hands more than had we drafted Paulo. Had Paulo failed us at 3, I think Jalen could have probably gotten away with kind of like being more off ball this year, just kind of focusing on kind of like what he did last year, but just at a higher level. Had we drafted Paulo, I think he was going to kind of fall back into that role. But now that it's just pretty much him and KPJ and to some extent Şengün running the offense, he's going to have to step up. He's going to have to be the second pick in the draft. A lot of the guy that a lot of people thought maybe Detroit might actually take with the first pick in the draft. Like Jalen Green has some playmaking attributes that I don't think were completely fleshed out last year. So I'm actually looking forward to the fact that, we have Jabari Smith Jr. We have this 6'10", 3-and-D guy on our team who, like, sky's the limit with him. Like, I don't want to put a ceiling on Jabari Smith right now. A lot of people feel like they know, like, what he's going to be in the long run. That dude is a young. He was one of the younger players in this draft, right?
Yeah.
He's 6'10". He might still be growing. You look at his dad. His dad is a big dude. His dad is huge. So we don't know what his body's going to look like. But I tell you what, like, as a person who did want Paulo and as a person who watched Jabari Smith in the summer league, I saw like his shot wasn't falling. That's the least of my concerns. The stuff that I wanted to see from Jabari Smith Jr. in the summer league is what I saw. I saw a guy who was intense on defense, who brought it every night, who was like talking on defense. He was in the right place at the right time. He was in good help position, and I know, Ken, you appreciate good help position. I've seen what you do on the court. You know,
I communicate.
Yeah, so like Jabari Smith Jr. is like a perfect person for Ken to play with because like Jabari Smith Jr. is out there talking on the court. You know, I love a lot of the stuff that I saw from Jabari Smith Jr. in the summer league, and a lot of people were like really down on him because he did not shoot a good percentage, and I'm like, that dude has a body of work as a shooter. You don't need to question his shooting. And so the things that I saw as far as him, like the block shot that he had on the guy that tried to dunk the ball.
Oh yeah.
He played a lot of small ball center in the summer league, which is something that I hadn't even like really, you know, I think Madison was a guy who was talking about maybe he could scale to that position maybe a little bit and get some minutes right there. But to see him actually man that position effectively. And so like, it was crazy to me. Like I saw him get out on the perimeter and guard a point guard. And you know, he moved his feet, he followed him all the way to the basket, blocked the shot out of bounds. And then I'm seeing this guy like guarding centers too. Like I'm in love with what I saw from Jabari Smith Jr. And I think that like one thing that we have not had in a while is a defensive identity. And the fact that we drafted Tari and then we were able to supplement that pick at 17 with Tari, that's what I'm looking forward to seeing the most this year. I want to see a team that we can put on the floor that can not just compete offensively, but be able to compete defensively. I want to be able to turn some of those defensive possessions into offense. Like I made a video with Josh Christopher like 2 days ago. Like one of the things that like really jumped out to me as I was putting that video together was the fact that like he got a lot of steals, right? He got a lot of steals up there around the 3-point line. And then those turn into fast break opportunities for Jalen Green alley-oops, for KJ Martin alley-oops, you know, and stuff like that. So like now we're adding Jabari Smith Jr. and we're adding Tari Eason to that. We have Ja'Sean Saint, who no longer has to guard a power forward anymore. He can actually guard guys that are more his size. Like you're putting something on the floor. You're building something finally to where we can say, okay, I think we have an identity as a team, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing the most this year.
Yeah, I want to see that. I want to see that identity. I want to see the progression finally getting there. Year 3 of the rebuild. Like, we have not had any defensive identity whatsoever. I like that they addressed it with these 2 picks. I just want to see some type of improvement, even if it's just minute. But I think it won't be a crazy drastic improvement, but I feel like we're going to see steps that are leaps and bounds as opposed to last year. You know, the lulls of when a team tacks off an 8-0 run, a 10-0 run, an 11-0 run. Like, how is this young team going to respond? I think with Jabari and Tari there, Jabari kind of quarterbacking that defense. I can see Jabari trying to, keep everybody's heads up of like, hey man, stay in the game. Like, it's a battle of attrition, like what my brother always says. It's like, just stay with it. Like, if you stay with it, trust the process, which is what that was so special about the 2018 Rockets. They were so good at that, staying with the process, which is why that team was so successful. Championship teams, they win the battle of attrition always. They don't mind giving up the 10-0 runs. You don't mind giving up the 11-0 runs.
Name the defenders on that 2018 team.
The what?
Just the defensive players on that 2018 team.
Oh, you're talking about my boy Trevor Ariza and PJ Tucker?
PJ Tucker.
Yeah, Luke Bamute. Gotta get my boy Luke in there.
Okay, so you're telling me now we're able to run out a Jabari Smith Jr. lineup with Tari Eason, with Jayshawn Tate.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully Josh Christopher takes another leap defensively. I still got my fingers crossed on Garuba. You know what I mean? Like
we all do.
Man. I'm crossing everything I got, bro. I'm crossing everything I got.
Kenny's a big Garuba guy.
Everything.
Everything, bro.
But the thing is, okay, so Garuba was supposed to be like the most defensive ready NBA player coming out of the last draft, right? So, he just turned 20. I'm not giving up on dude. I think that like there's something there, and we're gonna find out this year, like what he has to offer.
Yeah.
But like like you said, that 2018 team, you cannot be a championship caliber team, and we're a little bit away from championship. I will acknowledge that, but you cannot be a championship contender unless you can play both sides of the ball. Exactly. And I think that's
true.
I think that we added two pieces this year to go along with, like I said, the Jayshawn Tates and the Josh Christophers, who I believe that Josh could be a defender. So
absolutely,
I'm hopeful, man. Like that identity, being able to lock dudes up in crucial situations, that is something we haven't seen in the last 2 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We need to see it. I need it. I'm a defensive guy, so I need that.
We need that, man.
Frustrates me more than
you're a defensive guy, so I know you get like.
Yeah.
We're gonna be hyped up watching Jabari like block the ball.
I don't need 5 or 6 made threes, man. I need like 2 blocks and like a help stop. I need a defensive turnover. Like that's what Justin knows. Like what gets me like hyped up are actually like defensive plays. That's typically.
You're gonna be more hyped than Roosh when he watches Garuba setting screens.
Oh man, I don't know if anyone can reach that level of enthusiasm that Roosh got. You know what I mean? Like that's
a different level. That's
next level, bro.
No, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, dude. If Jabari does stuff, I got the Jabari jersey right behind me. You better believe I'm gonna throw this shit on. Yeah, I'm gonna throw that Jabari. Oh, you better believe it, man. I'm gonna get them all, dude. I'm gonna get the new Hardwood Classic editions, the San Diego Rockets. I gotta get the city editions. I'm gonna stock up, man. Jabari Smith.
That's why I like y'all, man. Y'all represent, man. Y'all are at like. Shout out to Ken and Justin though, for real. Like you guys are like at every event. Like you host events. Like you guys like do merch. Like it's crazy. Like y'all have your hands in like a lot of different things, man. That's all H-Town related. So like I'm a fan because I'm a homer.
Oh man, thank you.
Just like us.
Yeah, we were the same. Like we're born and bred Houston, man. We bleed Houston, man.
Facts.
We want to rep the city everywhere we go. I'm the guy that's like, oh man, I'm heading to New York, and especially after 2017, I'm like, I'm gonna rock all Astros gear, man. Boomy, let's do it. You know what I mean? I'm an instigator, passive instigator here. I'm gonna rock the controversial stuff. Can't help myself, man. But that's like the best part of it, like you like to rep for your city, and that's what we want to do. Is we just want to give more things for people to rep the city, something they can be proud of. I mean, like the Legion of Stop shirt, we thought that's huge, especially considering that, like you stated, we're trying to build a defensive identity. And that was the point of that shirt, is like, if anyone watched wrestling, the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, they were pretty crazy badass tag team, and we see that in terms of Jabari and Tari. Like they balance each other out. Tari's got that bit of crazy, Jabari's super calm and collected, so they bounce each other out perfectly. We love that, you know what I mean? And that's a big deal to us. Again, Vator, like, man, we appreciate you all the time, bro, and we appreciate you always showing up, showing out with us too, man. It's always good to see.
We've been hanging out. We've been hanging out.
Yeah,
it's not like just Rockets events.
Always show up unless I cannot show up. I'm gonna be there.
Yeah, man.
As far as like supporting you guys on whatever like platform we're on, like I'm gonna always do that, because like I do appreciate y'all, and you know, it's not all the time when you meet people that are like really genuine and they are the same that they are on social media as they are in person. And that's one thing that's one thing that I've tried to be. I want to be authentic. You don't want to be somebody different on social media and then be somebody completely different. And so like, I can honestly say that you guys are like, matter of fact, I would say you're even cooler in person than you are on social media. How about that?
Oh, thanks, man.
We try. I can't be, you can't even be a jerk on Twitter. Like, I'm like, all right, let's try this. And I'm like, oh God, I feel bad. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check my tweets.
I'm not gonna lie. I probably I wouldn't even say I'm being a jerk. I'm just giving my opinions. I'm not trolling. Like I'm really biased towards our team.
Nothing wrong with that.
Like
Absolutely.
if it's the Astros, if it's the Texans, if it's the Rockets, like a lot of times I do actually believe stuff I'm saying. Now, if I say the Texans are going to the Super Bowl, I'm hyping it up a little bit because that's probably not realistic this year. But like for the most part though, like, I'm gonna hype my team up. I'm never gonna concede a loss. Like even next week, we play the Indianapolis Colts. I pretty much caught them the bum in the Indianapolis Colts.
I saw that tweet.
I'm always gonna we're winning. We're gonna win every game until proven otherwise, and that's the way I look at it.
I feel that, man. I love that. I love that support too. Like that blind loyalty. Like, Kenny and I can be a bit more. We're more leaning towards the Homer side, but we try to bring our best version of objectivity to the podcast.
You have to be objective.
Yeah.
Like I do get people get in my mentions and they're like, man, there's no way you can believe this, or I do get a little hate mail every now and again.
Yeah.
But I don't care.
Hey man, that's what happens.
I love it, man. Be you.
That's what happens, man. Yeah, that's what happens when you have.
In my daily life in any kind of way. Like I
exactly.
Like every now and again, I might respond. Like if they actually say something to me that's actually funny, like I might respond to it. But if they're just like being toxic, I usually just keep it moving. Like I'm not about to argue with anybody on Twitter and not know. And especially if you don't have your own profile picture up, I can't respect that because
right.
No, it's true, man.
I can't tell you how many people would stop by on Rocket Store, and I'm like, oh, that's you? Oh, okay, dude. All I knew is that you had a photo of KPJ with H-Town in the background. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know who you were besides that. But yeah, no, I
it's
totally
true,
agree.
Man.
But yeah, dude. Flowers going your way too. Absolutely, man. Plus, man, hate mail happens when you have almost 4,000 followers. Boom.
Get in there, man. Get in there.
Look at you, man. Look at you, man. Hey, man, you're meteoric rise, what I call meteoric rise, bro. Just like Jalen Green, you're a star.
I'm nobody, I'm just trying to I'm just on there. I'm just having fun. I'm just trying to I honestly, I just post stuff that I like, I know guys like you guys have a platform, and I know I'm developing a platform, but at the same time, I'm in a position where I can just kind of post the stuff that I want. Like sometimes people tell me like, hey Vator, I cannot post that, and because I might run an idea by them. I'm like, hey, you think this is good? Can I send it? And they'll be like, yeah, please post that. I wish I could post it, but I can't. But I'm gonna live vicariously through you. Right. I post it, I might get an email from Rockets or So right now I'm just having a good time, man. I post the stuff that I like that entertains me. It's a slow off season right now, so I'm looking forward to the season starting back, so I can have more stuff to actually get in trouble with.
Yeah,
I
like
love
training
that,
camp
man.
and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, man. Soon. Exactly. Training camp's coming up really fast. Maybe 3 weeks. Because the first preseason game's October 6th or October 5th, right? I don't know exactly, but I'm excited, man. I'm ready for media day. I just want to see all the photos. I want to see all the dudes lined up, taking a photo of the starting lineup, the rookies. I want all that. I want the pressers. I'm ready. I just want to absorb as much content as I possibly can in terms of the Rockets. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Vator, let's bring it back again. We talk about the Texans, the Oilers, the Astros, the Rockets. Man, I mean, I wanted to ask you what your favorite Rockets moment is, but you know what? I want all sports, man. Even U of H if you have to, but tell me your favorite sports moment of your sports fandom.
Okay, so like one of the things that kind of sticks, there's a lot of stuff. Like the Mario Ellie Kiss of Death is huge. That was a huge one. And I had posted that, and then the whole what was that? The Nick Anderson missing the 4 free throws against the Rockets.
Yeah, you posted that yesterday? Is that yesterday?
Yeah, I posted that 2 days ago. But the thing, honestly, like, you know what's really cool and like was the 22 game winning streak, bro. Like I don't know why,
bro.
I don't know why the 22 game winning streak kind of like resonates in my head, but the fact that they won 22 games in a row, piecing together a lineup of like, I won't say they're not nobodies because that's disrespectful, but like for large portions of that 22 game winning streak, like we either didn't have like Yao Ming in it or like Tracy, like there was something going on. And then I remember that 22nd win when Rafer Austin like went crazy. He went berserk. Like the whole like he went full skip to Malou. He went and one mixtape, man. Mixtape on Sasha Vujic, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Vujic.
Yeah. Sasha he wasn't having it, man. He wasn't having it.
That was a good memory. We won't talk about the 23rd game when they played Boston Celtics and
that was heartbreaking, bro. But
that was one of my favorite. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna tell you what it is exactly. The T-Mac, the 13
and 35. Yo, man.
That was like if you're just talking about one singular moment, because the 22 game winning streak, like it spanned 22 games. Of course, the first 10 weren't that serious because it was just like a regular winning streak at that point. But like towards the end of the 22, then it was special, right? But as far as like one singular moment that I watched, and I was like, man, I cannot believe I saw that. The T-Mac 13 points and 30, that was crazy. That was absolutely insane. I would say that was, if I had to just narrow it down to like one event, I would say it was that.
I love that, because I mean,
what about you? Yeah, I was gonna ask what my brother's favorite sports moment is, if he could say it.
Oh man, I don't know. There's so much. I love all sports, you know what I mean? And oh my gosh, like if I can go back, Chris Paul's game 5 against Utah, like that fourth quarter, that was like a culmination of his demons being exercised, the demons of the Rockets, and Harden, always where he didn't have that tag team partner, to help him out in terms of closing moments. And it was just a huge thing, especially against Utah. Let's not forget about that. Vernon Maxwell, if he has a chance to slander Utah, he damn sure will.
Every time.
I love Vernon to this day because he will not resist an opportunity to bash Utah. Like
that damn Twitter, he's like an H-Town treasure.
Yeah.
Literally just an H-Town treasure.
100%. I mean, like there are moments like that. Like there's a few moments that stick to my mind. The first year of Harden, him and playing against OKC, I think the game, the day of the deadline, when him and Jeremy Lin both went off against them, and him sidestepping and stepping back on Serge Ibaka, the person that they decided to keep over him, and hit that 3. And I think he hit a career high at that point as well. That was such a huge moment for me because it was kind of like, he struggled against them in the first 2 or 3 games. And he got that big moment for himself to kind of push him over the hump of like being an actual star. And then like, if I'm going to go extremely underrated, it's against the same team, but I think it was like the 2012 season. And we were down against the Thunder with Goran Dragic, Chandler Parsons, Courtney Lee. I think it was like maybe
Kevin
Marcus
Martin.
Camby. I don't know if Kevin Martin was in that game. He might have been injured, but we were down by like double digits in the fourth quarter. It was like 2 minutes left, and we came back to win that game. We hit like quite a few threes. Courtney Lee hit a corner 3 at the end to get us that victory. And I thought that was so amazing to see, especially against a superstar studded team at that point with KD, Russ, and then OKC Thunder member James Harden. But those are moments to me, like Rockets wise. If I had to pick a singular sports moment that may have been like my absolute favorite moment, it'd probably have to be that, okay, I'm going to go to baseball, but Bregman hitting that game winner in game 5,
That's a good
over the
one.
Dodgers was
I have a
probably my
baseball one too.
absolute
I'm gonna let you finish, but I have a baseball one too.
that was
Yeah.
my absolute favorite moment I experienced. This is so euphoric, and to come back multiple times to just to tie it and then get the lead, they tie it, and it just felt like that was battle of attrition to a T. And for Houston to go up on top in that game, in that stage, and it was such a huge game, swing game, game 5, tied series 2-2. That was the game where it was just like, wow, everything's coming together. Is this possible? Like, can we really win this? And as a Houston sports fan, all we wanted, I'd always say it, like, all I wanted is one championship, whether it's the Astros, Rockets, Texas. I just want to experience it. You know what I mean? I wanted it for myself, for the city, and stories to tell as life goes on. No one can take away 2017. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of like,
forget that game.
mm-hmm.
I remember where I was. I was at this place called Nagoya with like my best friend, and we were watching it. And
Mm-hmm.
we were eating sushi or whatnot. It was crazy, man. And the fact of the matter is, like, that game, the amount of comebacks in that game, and that's what I was
unprecedented.
It's funny that you said that, because that was my Astros memory, because of the fact that, like, just as soon as you thought that the chips were down and it was over and they weren't, it's like there's no way they can come back from this.
Mm-hmm.
They come back. It was crazy.
Every time.
That was my favorite
every
Astros
time
memory by far.
That team was something else. Ken, what about you, man? What about you?
Okay. So if we're talking like Rockets, I'll mention a moment that none of y'all mentioned, because I was like, okay, well, I can't mention anything that y'all mentioned already. But the one moment that'll probably stick out to me, it will probably for as long as I live, Game 6, 2015 second round against the Clippers, the comeback.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That I mean, that was like, I felt like I was living in a parallel universe for that one quarter and like 2 minutes in the third. Like, I just didn't, I was like, is this really happening? Like, because that, if we set the stage going into that moment, like the Clippers, they should have beat us. They were up 3-1. That team was more superior than our team in any way. Corey Brewer, Josh Smith in the following years were out of the league. Like, the people that were basically one of the main catalysts on that comeback weren't even in the NBA after like a year or two. So that's like the insane part about it, is that Clippers team was more dominant. They had more pieces. They were more of a championship contender than we were, yet we were able to get it back on the backs of players that weren't named James Harden. Harden was on the bench, and you had Dwight Howard, Trevor Ariza, Corey Brewer, Josh Smith, Jason Terry. You had the headband of brothers leading the charge on a comeback like that. We always talk about like, okay, we always bring back Clutch City. It's almost like an overplayed. It became almost an overplayed statement. I didn't understand Clutch City because like I was maybe 3 years old when we won our title, so I don't remember anything. I only remember how my family reacted. That's like my first sports memories. I don't recall watching anything on a TV. So like I never understood the full satisfaction of what Clutch City was until I got to see that game at that moment of a comeback of that magnitude to force a Game 7 to bring it back to Houston for Game 7 to be like, okay, this is Clutch City. Like, and Craig Ackerman said it perfectly. It was like, Clutch City's back. Like, and I was like, okay, now I get it. Now I understand what Clutch City is and how, that Rockets had that, the proverbial dog in them to never quit. So that's probably has to be a top moment for me. I mean, hands down. At least from a Rockets perspective.
Yeah, that's up there. That's definitely up there. I would say that's got to be like a top 5 moment. Easily. Just the way that whole fourth quarter unfolded in that game, it was almost surreal to watch. And a lot of people don't realize, like, the much maligned Terrence Jones, like, actually he had some really good plays. He had some really good plays at the end of the third quarter. Like, to me, like, if he doesn't do those things, like, maybe there is no comeback. But
it's true.
If you go into the fourth and then it's like the Corey Brewer and the Josh Smith show, and it. Yeah, like you could just. I'm speechless because like just even that's how much nostalgia that moment had for me, because you're sitting there and you're watching the game and you're like, dang, we're cooked. Like, there's no way we're gonna like get another disappointing season.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're about
oh
to
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Harden's on the bench. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, it's like, oh no, we suck again.
It's true, man. It's true. I mean,
oh
you
no,
know, like
we suck again.
like
Yeah, I love that
that
line.
that game, like, you know, everyone, one of like that game itself, like if you were following at that point in time, like I think that's one of those few games where everyone can be like, I remember exactly where I was when I was watching that game. And
Yeah.
Kenny and I were together with our good friend Jay, and we were talking about on the couch, like, okay,
How we can
what moves
improve
do
the
we need to
team.
make
Yeah,
for
what moves
the
do we need to
offseason?
make?
and then you know, and then that epic run comes back. And the funny thing is, like, from what I remember, is like John Barry was the announcer, and he was such a huge Houston hater, but yet he was a huge piece in 0405. And let's also shout out, I don't remember who was the guy that made the video, but there was a guy that made videos on Clutch Fans. You remember that? The Deliver Me videos. You remember that, Vader? Me and Kenny
Ponged?
love that
Was
stuff.
it Ponged?
I don't remember who it was, but shout out to that guy in
Okay.
Clutch Fans. I know, I'm pretty sure Dave knows,
Could
but
be wrong.
shout out to Kenny. I don't know if anyone knows, but Kenny used to make videos back
It went
in the day.
silently viral.
And Kenny made a Deliver Me video for that series after
I
Game
did.
6.
I think I
And
still have it.
It took attention, you know, like I think Sean Pendergast saw it, Mario Ellie saw it, Matt Bullard saw it, Craig Ackerman might have, but he didn't know us at that point in time. But Kenny, like, that's so funny because we were on Twitter at that point, but we were quietly on Twitter, not like how we are now. But at that point in time, it's just funny to think about.
I was a lurker.
Yeah,
That's the
Kenny,
best way to describe it. I was a lurker.
You're gonna have to post it at some point in time.
I'll post it at some point. I'll post it. Yeah, I'll post it at some point.
Yeah,
Okay,
man,
yeah.
you gotta like
Yeah.
give the people what they want. We need to see that.
There you go.
Absolutely, I'm playing on. Okay, all right,
Jalen
you know what?
Rose,
Just for
have the
you,
bag.
just for you, Vader. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bring it back. I just gotta upgrade. I gotta upgrade that account though.
Wait, now.
I'm not above the 220 threshold, the 2 minutes and 20 second threshold. I gotta up my account so I can post more than 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Or maybe I'll put it in parts. I'll put a part 1 and part 2. We'll see. I have it. I have it. It's there. So I'll put it and post it. We'll get this episode out, and then I'll do a follow up of like, hey, if you listen to this episode, then you'll understand the reference. So I'll post it, get it going. All right,
Yeah.
last question before we go home, Vader. I want to ask you. Look, the season's coming up right now. We're so close to training camp. The NBA season's coming literally next month. We're gonna be seeing Rockets game. We're gonna be watching Rockets games back. You know, Christmas time is coming here early. Give a prediction of what this like. I guess you can tie into 2 questions. Give an overall prediction record season wise, and are we trying? Do you think we're trying to make not play in or bottom out, stay in the middle? What do you think?
I think that we are going to try to win this year. I think Silas doesn't have a choice. I think he has to. I think if he wants to be the head coach of the Houston Rockets next year, I think that there needs to be some kind of measurable improvement. I won't say whether or not that is reflected in wins and losses is not important because, I mean, you play to win the game. Herman Edwards said that a long time ago. You play to win the game. I know that like a lot of teams around us have also gotten better. So just because you improve, you know, that's not always, you know, reflected in the wins because the other teams around you also make moves to improve as well, except for Utah because they're obviously trying to get Wemby or something. I don't know what they're doing. They're just giving away.
San Antonio. Them in San Antonio, man.
Yeah, San Antonio. The tank has started already. The tank has pulled out. Right, like Sam Presti is mad because like Sam Presti is like these dudes are trying to out tank me. So
yeah, already.
That's where he posts his Michael Jordan meme, like, and that's when I took it personally. You know,
right.
Exactly. So as far as like, I think Silas has to actually like coach this year. Like you can kind of tell like the past few years, or at least last year in particular, that he was kind of like it was more of a developmental year. You know, us as fans, there were some things that we would have liked to see differently. But like, hey, I always you know, I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt because like they are professionals. He's a professional NBA coach. You know, I am not. You know, so I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. However, you know, you see things that you're like, you do question certain things, right? So one of the things that I'm looking to see from Steven Silas this year is just more accountability from the players, like when they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing, like not necessarily yanking that dude out, but you know, like, you know, if you do need to yank them out, you know, and they need to come out of the game when you ask them to come out. as far as like stuff that they're doing on the court. If it's outside of what you want them to do, that needs to be coached out of them. Like one of the things that I always like wonder about Steve Francis, shout out to Steve, love Steve Francis. He was one of my favorite players, but I always wonder, Rudy was
a player's coach.
He was a player's coach, and he was used to having like Hakeem and Drexler and guys like that who they're already established in their career. And Rudy knew that those guys did not need a certain level of coaching. He knew that what they needed, and it worked to the tune of 2 championships. However, when you got a guy like Steve Francis, this young guy who is kind of like, he's a little wild, he's a little out of control, super talented, you cannot necessarily leave him to his own devices all the time. Yeah, you want him to be free to make mistakes and feel comfortable to try things and mess up, and you coach certain things out of him. And I think like Steve was just given the reins, and Steve kind of was left to his own devices, and he can do what he wanted to do. And ultimately that hurt him, because when he ended up with a guy like Jeff Van Gundy, who was a disciplinarian, he was like, this is not what I'm accustomed to. This is not what I'm used to. Like, just give me the ball and, let me cook. And so like, and I'm gonna bring that back to like what we have right now with like our young guys. Like, these guys need to be coached up to a certain extent. Yeah, you want them free. You want them to be out there not worried about like, if I turn the ball over, are you going to take me out the game? But at the same time, are you running the offense? Are you where you're supposed to be on defense? Are you making second and third efforts defensively? Like, defense is a lot more than just one effort. Like you can be on your guy and your guy beats you and you just stop and let him go to the basket. That's not giving effort at that point. Like you tried initially, you got down in your stance and you tried initially and he got around you or whatever. And then you just kind of quit on the play. Like you got to be locked in. You got to be willing to like chase that down, get back into play, recover, get to the other guy, whatever it takes. Like we need to see that from this team. And we didn't see that a whole lot last year. So I just want to see like these guys actually like focused on making winning plays. Now, whether or not those result in the wins right now, I don't know if that's as important, and I'm contradicting myself because I said I do think Stephen Silas needs to win a little bit, but like, improvement does not necessarily need to be reflected in wins, considering what we saw last year. Like, there were a lot of games we really just let go of the rope. Like, you could tell in the midst of the game,
it's true.
We just want to quit. And if you think back, like a few years ago, we had these teams who like, yeah, they didn't win all the games that they played, but they competed, from the tip to the end of the game. Like, they competed, and you're like, man, those guys, and we love those teams because they would compete like that. That's what I want to see from this team. I want, like, even if we lose a game, I want to be able to go into a space or go on, or talk to you guys and be like, hey, they competed their ass off tonight. Like, we didn't get the win tonight, but they tried, they did the best they could. The other team was just better than us. So that's what I'm looking for this year. I want to see that kind of improvement, like on the floor, as far as effort and just execution.
Yeah, as long as we don't get one. As long as we don't start the season 1-16.
1-16 would suck. Yeah, we can't.
This
do
is
that.
a terrible taste in the mouth.
Can't do that. No.
Give
me something, man. Give me 3 and give me like. Give me anything. Give me like 5-12. Give me 6-11. I'll take anything over 1-16 at this point. So, yeah.
And honestly, if we get like we get another high draft pick, right? We have our own pick this year. We get another high draft pick. We have max free agency money, max cap space. Like, you're adding at least 2 like really good players next year. So. Like, I'm willing to go through another year of the growing pains. I just want to see the growing pains, if that makes sense. Like, we can do the growing pains, but we also need to see the growing part, not just the pain part. Like,
you're very correct. Very correct. Shout out to Kurt Cameron,
Jeez Louise, wow. Good, wow, what a call out. No, nope. Not all pain.
Not the pain. Yeah. Pain.
I want to see growth. Yes, I want to see growth and improvement.
You're very correct.
At least for the sake of, you're right though, to tie it all in a bow before we go home here. For at least Stephen Silas's sake, like the dam has to turn at some point. You don't want to be another black
26 to 30 games is what I would be okay with. Me personally, I know a lot of people think that's too low, but like, I think like if we're actually playing defense and we're actually out here and we're competing until that and until we go like all zeros, we should be able to get 26 to 30 wins.
I
No,
agree.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
I-
I think that we'll have the effort there on the defensive end. We got the right players around. This is all contingent on, like you're right, like Steven Silas opening up the playbook offensively and making sure to place these guys in the correct places defensively, which is, I guess you can say that's placed on Lionel Hollins. It was a great hire for us. Letting go of Jeff Hornacek. Why? I don't know why he was there.
He's from Utah. That's why we can't have Utah people on the staff.
This is bad juju, man. I ain't about that life. Not about it.
He was a Utah Jazz player. He was a mole.
Yep, it's true.
Facts.
It's true.
Facts.
It's
Yeah,
true,
Vader's spitting over here.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, I see it. I'm curious to see how the improvements that they do make. I'm curious to see what happens to Silas. I mean, I don't know how realistic it is for him to get an extension after this year. It might, if he does coach well, he might get 1 or 2 years extended in addition. I wonder if they might stay on the safe side, more conservative side, depending on how it goes. I don't think he wants to be a lame duck, and neither does Stone and Fertitta. I think it'd just be bad for the team overall. But overall, I just think that it's gonna be good. I'm like you said, growing pains with more of the growing, less of the pain. I'm all about that. I just want to see improvements in certain aspects of certain games. Like I want Kevin Porter Jr. to bring down his turnovers, make better choices when you're on the open court and in the half court as well. Like if we can see that, then, that'll be improvement already. Jalen Green making better choices. And, also it's up to the refs. He drove to the bucket so much last year and got no calls. We'll see what happens this year. If he plays more aggressively in terms of like trying to get more dunks, and maybe he will draw more fouls. We'll see how it goes. Alp, whether he can stay on the floor, and Jabari Smith, see what happens with him. We'll see if Tari is even in the rotation to start the year. We'll see how that goes. I'm curious to see how that's going to be. Will KJ Martin even be on the roster, to start the year? Is that even possible? Like, we'll see how that goes. But
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm in the same boat too. We'll see what ends up happening in regards to this season, in regards to the upcoming season, and it's all hearsay until we actually get to the games that count in about early to mid October. So let's get ready to go home here, Vator. Vator, thank you so much for coming onto the summit, dude. Just talking with us, just talking hoops, talking off season. We're going to get you on once the season gets rolling, by the way. We got to get you to come back. We're either going to be celebratory drinking. Hey man, let's have a toast. Jalen Green's having a whale of a year to start out. Jabari Smith is on his way to being rookie of the year, to like, if we have another 1-16 start, to like, yo, Vader, man, we got to talk. We're going to have to talk about this damn team.
When you have me on before the season starts, I'm probably going to say we're making a play-in. So just be prepared, Justin and Ken. Like, we're making a play-in.
I'm all for it, bro.
I love it.
I'm all for it.
I'm okay with that positivity. I'm okay with it. I'm for it, bro.
I'm resolved. I'm resolved to the fact that we're not getting Wemby unless we get some type of crazy Yao Ming 2002 pick where you have Steve Francis. We're estimated at the 12th or 13th pick in the draft, and then boom, you set Steve Francis there, and then we get the number 1 pick. That would be wild.
And Wemby is an amazing prospect, but let's talk about it. 7'5" guys.
Longevity.
Hey man, yeah. I'm a Scoot Henderson dude. No offense to Kevin Porter Jr., but I'm a Scoot Henderson guy. I am on the Scoot Henderson bandwagon already.
Wemby scares me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I watched a lot of his highlights, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of his game. I'm not a fan of his frame.
It's the height. It's the height. No, I mean, it's facts. The dude just screams. He just gains weight. You're just, and I hate to say this, you're screaming stress. What is it? Foot stress fracture at some point. So
he's already low key kind of injury prone right now. And like, he's not even like facing the physicality that he's going to face being in the NBA. So like, it's a red flag for me. Like, I think if you have the first pick in the draft, you almost have to take him, because if you don't, then you're going to look like an idiot if he does become like this big megastar. However, he scares me. He scares me. And just like the whole, like, Chet scared me. I felt like Chet was the best player in this draft. Like, honestly, I know I was on the Paulo bus, but like, if you just look at like skill to talent and like height and all of that stuff, like
Yeah.
Chet could do everything, but
Can.
Chet was not the first player on my big board though, and it was because I was afraid of his frame, and and maybe this was a freak injury, but I mean, maybe it wasn't.
I think so. I mean, he doesn't have the size like Yao Ming because it's very, very similar in terms of his foot injury. So that it probably bodes well for him in terms of recovery, is at least he doesn't have all that size that, someone like Yao had, all the extra weight. It's good that it happened at this point in his career. I mean, it's not a good injury regardless.
That's a tough injury. That's the same injury Matt Schaub had. That's the same injury Matt Schaub.
Yes.
Yes, that is the
Matt
same
Schaub.
injury, Matt Schaub.
And then he became like pick 6 Matt Schaub after that. He's like,
I ain't trying to hear that.
He was throwing more touchdowns to the other team after that. So like,
I know, man.
I will never forgive the Texans for not getting Peyton Manning. Okay, anyways, we're not going to talk about that.
I was a TJ Yates
another
guy.
rabbit hole, right?
TJ Yates. I was a TJ Yates guy. Taylor Johnson, my guy.
Listen for our Texans podcast. We're totally going to start a Texans pod with Vader here now. Look, it's coming. It's coming.
I'll be there for that.
Yo, Vader, man.
Davis Mills.
You already know. Vader, man, dude, I got to get you your flowers, man, and roll out the red carpet for you right now. Thank you so much for coming on the summit. Let the people know where they can find you on all the socials across the board.
Right now, I'm just mainly on Twitter, Vator_H_town, and shoot me a follow. I follow back pretty much everybody right now. A lot of people give me crap. They're like, "Who's this dude you're following?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. He followed me. I followed him back." That's just kind of like,
man, you're getting grief for people you follow.
Yeah, man. Like they give me grief for following too many people, but like, hey.
You're a generous man, man. You're generous man.
I'm following everybody. If you follow me, I'm gonna follow you back. That's just how I'm running my business right now.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do there, and I completely feel that with you there. So Vader, I appreciate you. My brother appreciates you. Thank you so much for coming down, or no, not coming down, coming up to the summit to meet us and just talk hoops, man. We can't wait to have you on again, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ken. Thanks, Justin. Catch y'all later.